How's it going, everyone? Welcome and thank you for stopping into the channel. Today I have an exciting video planned for you guys, and it might hurt my soul at the end of this video. We shall see. But we are going to do a blade battle, and it's going to consist of two of my favorite knife designers, two of my favorite knives, period, and one of them has to lose. So we are going to get started. We have the Raptor version 2 from Brian Brown, and we have the EMP EDC Relative from John Rusk. We have 11 categories as usual: materials, price, value, cutting, ergos, action, sounds, fidget, aesthetics, carry, and the tiebreaker, if necessary, the better work and EDC knife. So we'll get right into this guy. We'll start with the Raptor version 2. The first category is materials. So we're going to do just base knife. This knife has a zircuti pocket clip. We are going to void that out, and it will just imagine that it is a titanium clip. Okay, so that is the only change or the only avenue that might cause concern, but we're going to eliminate that right off the get-go. So the zircuti clip adds more cost to the knife, and we're just going to eliminate that part. But so we have a clip point blade made of M390 steel. You have a machined satin on this guy, and it is a good looking knife. I got this for Christmas from my fiance, and I absolutely love this knife. It has thumb studs for the deployment method, and I will tell you they are very, very comfortable. You have this bronzed titanium. You have a carbon fiber inlay that is just so well done on the show side here. Very smooth transitions, very well done. You have a nice pivot collar here, and titanium clip originally. You have a titanium quarter back spacer there, some jimping up on the top, and it's a great knife. I absolutely love this knife. Now we have the EMP EDC Relative. Now this guy has a clip point Tanto blade made of MagnaCut. This is a machine satin. You have a bead blast up here in the fuller area, and it is a beautiful looking blade. Jimping all the way up the spine. You have this beautiful milling pattern throughout the scales. You have this gold or brass style hardware all the way around. Pivot collar, pivot, the hardware, the pocket clip, back spacer is titanium. Very, very beautiful. So we have MagnaCut versus M390. We have milled DLC'd titanium versus bronzed titanium with carbon fiber. I am going to give the nudge to the EMP EDC. Just now, some people might say, oh, you're prejudiced towards EMP EDC or whatever. EMP EDC is my favorite knife company, but I am going to try to stay as impartial as I possibly can, You can let me know how you tally these up at the end. So it's 1-0 to the relative. So next up is price. Now, before the video, I just decided to do this battle, just decided to do these knives. So this is all spur of the moment stuff. I grabbed the price right before the video here. $375 for the Raptor, $359 to the relative. Based off price, guys, I was just looking at it. Now, Bestech OEM these, Riot OEM these, and I have to say that Bestech just killed this design. Riot did very well with the Raptor, but for, let's say, $16 less, I'm taking this all day long with MagnaCut, jimping up the blade. I'm taking this one by the smallest of margins. For the price, $375 for this guy, $359 for this guy. I gotta give the nudge to the EDC relative. So that is 2-0 for the relative, guys. Now, next up, we have value. So that is typically based off of the secondary market. What is the knife worth after you buy it? Does it hold its value? What can you resell it for? That type of idea. And I can tell you, this DLT exclusive that came out, right before Christmas or what have you, is still available. The relatives are completely sold out now. There might not have been as many of these made. There was 3 versions of this released, and then John is doing a second run as we speak. So because of the limited amount of the relatives, especially the MagnaCut versions, there will be no more MagnaCut relatives. There will be no more MagnaCut EMP EDCs as far as I know, at least for the foreseeable future. And that is not his decision. That is, the companies are not able to get the MagnaCut in. So they have to stick with 20CV, LMAX, M390, that sort of thing. So the value of the relative is going to be higher than the Raptor just because you cannot get this knife right now. I can go buy this one right now if I want to. This one I cannot buy right now even if I wanted to. So we're going to give another one to the relative. Next up, we have cutting. So we will go ahead and do a live cut test to see what they both can do. So we will do the Raptor first. We will test them both on just basic phone book paper. I believe they both are hollow ground as well. So they're going to both be naturally pretty slicey. And I know just from carrying these and using these some, they are both very, very slicey. This one is having some hiccups, but a lot of knives do have hiccups when it comes to cutting this telephone book paper. So I'd say that's like an 8 out of 10 or somewhere in that range. We'll go ahead and do the relative next. No snags. Barely feels like I'm even cutting anything. I'm going to have to give it to the relative, guys. I don't know if it's that taller blade because they're both very, very sharp. They're both very sharp. I'm going to have to give it to the relative. So that will be 4-0 to the relative, guys. Next up is ergos. So we'll go ahead and start with the Raptor. This one, you have a nice thinner handle here, and then you have a swell towards the back. You can basically choke all the way up here. You don't have a flipper tab, so you can get right behind the blade there. There's no real choil per se, but there's nothing stopping you from getting right in behind the blade there. Is it the most comfortable thing in the world? Not necessarily, but it's not uncomfortable either. You have a very thin stock here. You do have a nice place to rest your thumb. No jimping here, and that is due to the harpoon type look this has going on. Very comfortable though in pretty much all the grips that you would handle this knife in. Very comfortable. Now we have the relative. Now this is extremely comfortable, and if you have ever held one, you would agree. You have a very neutral handle. They both are pretty neutral. This one stays pretty much neutral all the way down the spine of it, and then you have a nice little flare out at the end of this guy, and then you have a nice 50-50 choil here, and that allows you to get right up behind the edge there. The way John does these, you have jimping all the way down until you hit the downward slope, which just really locks you in as far as just a regular neutral grip. And then you have the index grip, which works very well with this knife. I'm going to have to give it to the relative on the ergos just by a smidge. So it's not looking good for the Raptor. We have 5-0 to the relative. Next up is action. So they both are phenomenal in the action department. They are both frame locks. They have different means of deployment. You do have a hole and fuller here with a front flipper tab. Very well done on all accounts. This is one of my favorite thumb stud knives, period. It works very well. Thumb flick, reverse flick, easy to disengage, falls to your thumb, and then it has a nice hydraulic close. The relative is very similar. Neither of these have... Oh, you know what? I did put skiffs in this, so even that's cheating a little bit. There are no skiffs in here. This does have skiffs, so that kind of gives even an edge to the Raptor. But I'm going to have to say... that... Boy, they're both really good. I'm going to have to give it to the relative by just a small margin. So that is 6-0 to the relative. Next up, we have sounds. So how does it sound when it opens? How does it sound when it closes? You have a nice strong thwack when it opens. A nice tactile click when it closes for the relative. A pretty nice thwack open on the Raptor. And then a pretty subtle pop when it closes. Boy, guys, I'm going to have to... I'm going to have to give it to the relative. Boy, if I would have known it was going to go like this, guys, I would have never done this battle. I did it mainly because they're both... I love them both. They both have that clip point style blade. So I thought, and I love them both so much, I thought it would be a good battle. But as of right now, it's not looking good for the Raptor. Next up, we have Fidget. And I think that is going to also be a problem for the Raptor. Just because you have the fuller, you have the hole, nice pill-shaped hole. You have the front flipper. I mean, you can thumb flick this all day. You can reverse flick this all day. Front flip it over the top. It doesn't matter. Very good access to that lock bar. Very comfortable to disengage. Now, the Raptor is very well done. Nice chamfer on the lock bar. Very fidgety for a thumb stud titanium frame lock. So in that sense, this is a winner. But I'm going to have to give the slight edge to the relative. I mean, this comes from one of the most fidgety designs ever created in the Nimble. This is, you know, an upgraded, bigger version of the Nimble, basically. It's a relative of the Nimble. And it's just so fidgety, guys. So if anyone has both of these knives, can someone either back me up or let me know that I'm crazy? Next up is aesthetics. So which one, you know, looks better in your opinion? In my opinion, now they both are beautiful knives in their own right. It kind of depends on what do you like. This is going to be a tough thing. I'm going to have to give it to the relative by just a smidge. I mean, I love the DLC milled titanium handles. You have the gold accents, which I love gold. It just pops. Looks beautiful. That blade shape. Just, you don't see this style of blade shape. You have that dull grind with the Tanto clip point. I believe this is a flat here, hollow here. It just, look at that bad boy. I mean, it's so beautiful. And the Raptor is no slouch. It's a beautiful knife. but let me know if I'm wrong. But the relative takes it by just a small margin. So we have 9-0, guys. Now we're going to go to carry. So in a sense, you could say, well, the Raptor has a thinner profile, but that doesn't necessarily make it a better carry. They both are pretty deep carry. You're going to have about that much sticking out of your pocket there. Here you're going to have about that much. So not a lot with either. The relative does have a taller blade. So it's a little wider. They are almost identical in their closed length. And obviously they should be very similar in their open length as well. Very, very similar. You have a tiny bit more blade here on the relative. I'm going to give the carry to the relative as well. I think it's a better carry. The pocket clip hasn't been changed from the original Nimble to all the lines of the Nimble to the Thick Boy to the relative. I mean, there's a reason why John uses this pocket clip and this style of pocket clip on all of his knives. It's because it retains very well. It is easy to get in and out. It's an outstanding clip. Now, this is a good clip as well. It's just not quite as good as the EMP EDC. It's just a better carry, in my opinion. And I don't know that it's much heavier either. Let's weigh them really quick because I'm interested. So you have 4.25 to 4.3. And you have 3.4. 4.25. So you're talking almost an ounce to the relative, but it's just a stockier knife. It's a thicker, wider, it's a heavier duty knife. Yes, it's a beautiful knife, but it's also a great user as well. We're going to give the carry to the relative, guys. So that's 10-0 to the relative. And the last category, it doesn't really matter, is work and EDC, the better work and EDC knife. Now, I don't have a ton of experience carrying either of these a ton for work purposes. This one is very new to me. In a sense, I haven't had it that long comparably, and I haven't had this that long comparably either. I got this in December, so a few months and then a month or month and a half for this guy here. So I don't have a ton of experience with the workplace use. As far as EDC, guys, I'm going to give it to the relative. It's just you got that nice point here for stab, draw cuts, poking into things. You have this nice straight edge here, whereas this one starts to go to belly right away for the most part. You have a little bit there. And then here to here, you have a nice amount of usable belly. It's just gonna be a better EDC knife, in my opinion. Uh, and it's probably gonna end up being a better work knife as well. If you were to use it like that, you got the jimping, the thicker handle, so it's gonna be easier to handle all day long. It's just gonna be a better EDC and work knife. So that is the first time ever that we have had a sweep on these battles, and I was not expecting this seriously one bit. I thought it would be very close, but the relative just smoked the Raptor without without question. So there it is, guys. Let me know if I missed a category and the Raptor should have won one. Let me know what you think and what you came up with. But that is the first time ever that there was a sweep during a battle. I typically try to avoid that at all costs, because it's not something I want to do. I want the battles to be good and hard for me to choose. And this was very hard. It's just everything went towards the relative's way. And even being in love with EDC, I tried to take that out of the equation. But even still, even if I didn't love EDC and I only had this knife from them, and it would still go to this knife. I have to believe that. Let me know what you guys came up with if you hung out through the whole video. Give me a thumbs up. Give yourself a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Otherwise, guys, I will catch you on the next one.